Welcome, guys. Welcome to Upskill Club, Season 4, Pack 1, Episode 4. Today, what we're going to learn is last time we talked about what makes a leader. Today, we'll talk about what are the steps a leader needs to take to transform himself. Okay. Before we deep dive into the content that author has created, author has suggested for all of us to take a brief survey among ourselves so that we understand the topic even better. So, what all of us need to do is just read this statement and just complete it. Okay, the statement is a good leader dash dash dash. ठीक, so we'll take, all of us will take 4 minutes and write as many statement as you want in the next 4 minutes. A good leader does this, a good leader is like this, a good leader has this. ठीक, so whatever comes to your mind, just express it for the next 4 minutes. Okay, but just start the statement with a good leader, then okay, and express whatever comes to your mind. Let's do it. All you have to do is type whatever comes to mind in the chat. Okay, a good leader, and hype and complete the sentence. Whatever is coming to your mind, just type it in the chat. नहीं ऐसे नहीं लिखना है, ऐसे नहीं लिखना है. Aman, you need to write the statement a good leader and then complete the statement.
अच्छा गॉट इट. एक्चुअली आई रिटन इन एक मिनट नीचे का कॉपी कर देता हूं. मैं इसमें से कॉपी कर देता हूं. अ गुड लीडर इज डॉट डॉट डॉट. मतलब ये तो आ सकते हैं ना, बुलेट से लिखा है. अच्छा,
हाँ, जो भी है,
गॉट इट.
write it down. Next thing, we have 3 minutes. Just express yourself. Look back, whatever people that you have worked with, whatever you have liked. If you want to express their, let's say, traits, you can do that also. It's okay. Cool, guys. I guess we all expressed ourselves. Uh, I'll just go through all the comments one by one, and then we'll build up on top of it. I'll not take any. I'll just simply read the statement that we all of us have expressed. First is a good leader take cares of his team growth. A good leader executes with focus. Third is a good leader is the one who inspires others. A good leader is the one who makes his subordinate go through tough phase and come back with more confidence. Then there is a good leader looks out for the team. A good leader plans for the future. A good leader stays calm in the wake of problem. A good leader grows the team. Then there is a good leader is a visionary. A good leader plans for failure. A good leader is a multi-dimensional thinker. A good leader understands everyone is not same. Good leader is the one who stays calm in tough situations and makes sure that situation doesn't impact the team. A good leader has a strategy for long term. A good leader is level headed. A good leader keeps organization result first in short terms and people first in long term. A good leader is calm. A good leader is the one who plans for the growth of the team to increase their leverage in the organization. A good leader understands he doesn't need to be the master of all. Her team is there. A good leader is able to communicate effectively. A good leader expresses things that people want to do. A good leader knows what is needed. A good leader delivers. A good leader is able to tell the shortcomings and make sure you understand them better and grow accordingly. A good leader is bold and always moves ahead. A good leader doesn't shy away from accepting what he or she doesn't know. A good leader is a role model in terms of his or her conduct. A good leader delivers from the front. So now, in a matter of 4 minutes, we four have expressed what a good leader means, and in terms of the diversity that we want in a good leader, you can say there is a fair amount of diversity. Fair enough. There is no clear cut definition. The person is a good leader if he cares about people. A person is a good leader if he only cares about the results. A person is only a good leader if he's bold and always. A person is good leader if he or she has a good strategy. So a lot of uh, constructs which are involved just in one statement. What makes a good leader? So what we'll do, the same amount of survey was done by author in various organizations across years for many Fortune 500 companies. Okay, and this talk and the series of learnings that we'll talk about today are from that same survey that you guys, you and me conducted ourselves internally. Okay, so let me share my screen first. I hope my screen is visible for all and the font size is right. Shall I increase the font size?
Can increase the font size slightly. We can see.
I guess this is better.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we'll learn what are the 7 transformations of leadership. As I communicated earlier, what psychologists have agreed is that what differentiate leaders is not so much their philosophy of leadership, their personality, or their style of management. Okay, it is not. It is their internal action logic. This is a term that which will come again and again in the course of next 30-45 minutes, which is what is the action logic a person who is at any form of leadership position uses. Okay, action logic, and how they interpret their surrounding and react with their power or when their power or safety is challenged. Okay, relatively few leaders, however, they try to understand their own action logic. This is where we all miss. What is my own action logic? What is my action logic if I am in any shape and form of leadership position? And very few, even people who understand it and use it for their benefit, or let's say their organization benefit or their team benefits, very few understand and that there is a possibility for it to change and move up. That
Anubhav, sorry, what does it really a action logic? It's a
good.
reaction.
No, that is the statement we'll answer over the course of next 30 minutes, Aman. What are the
Got,
action? Okay, but this is a
got.
statement or the key keyword for this talk. Okay, we have already conducted this internal survey, and these are the results which came out to be. There are 7 types of leaders. Okay, one is opportunist, then there is diplomat, then there are experts, then there are achievers, then there are individualists, then there is strategists, and then there is alchemist.
What is this? Oh, sorry, I just missed because I just connected the earphones.
So the survey
Last.
that we conducted ourselves internally, and the survey that the author has conducted around the world for some time, And these are the seven, let's say, different category of leaders that he classified that exist. And they are opportunists, diplomat, expert, achievers, individualist, strategists, or alchemists. Okay. What other author has also find that there are three types of leaders associated with below average corporate performance. So leaders who specifically get classified in opportunities, diplomats, and experts, and even though they account for 55% of the examples, they do deliver below average performance at a pure organizational level in a decent frame of reference. Okay, it's not key 3 months, 4 months, it's more about 4 years, 5 years. So we'll try to learn about these. And out of these sample set, only 15% of the sample set were categorized in individualist, strategist, or alchemist. And these are the guys who have shown consistently that they have the capacity to innovate and successfully transform entire organizations. Okay, this is the crux of it. Let's deep dive and understand what are these seven type of leaders. First is opportunist. It simply means, and the characteristics are, win any way possible. Win anyway, you just have to win. There's these guys are predominantly self-oriented, little bit manipulative, and might takes right. Just get it done. I just need to win. That is the mindset that they operate in. Okay, these are very good in when you have emergencies. It's not like any one of these are bad traits. It's more about when are they needed the most. The opportunities are needed the most when you have emergency in your organizations. Okay, when numbers are a company is not able to hit its sales numbers, a company is not able to deliver its defined engineering OKRs, or a company is not writing test cases. All those let's say diversity of emergency cases for functional excellence, opportunists are really good. And they represent 5% of the server result. Okay, and then there is diplomat. Diplomats correspond, or let's say, compounds to 12% of the results, and in terms of the demographic split. They avoids conflict at any cost. Okay, that is one of their characteristic. They avoid conflict. They generally try to belong to the group norm, and then they rarely try to rock the boat. Rock the boat means whatever is happening, I don't need to go out there and just call out anybody, or I don't need to go out there and just say you're wrong. They just normally confide with the group now. And these strengths are needed most in whenever there is a supportive role in the office. So these guys can be very good at leaders in CEO's office per se. Okay, a CEO's office or Prime Minister's office. These are leadership positions in their capacity, but they need to conform to the group predominantly. That is expected predominantly. Okay, and the diplomats are actually very good in terms of bringing people together. They will talk to everybody and understand what is, let's say, ailing them, and in order to avoid conflict, they will bring people together to resolve that. So these are their key traits. Then there is expert. This is the majority of the leaders, what people have expressed, which is a good leader is an expert at his job. Okay, a good leader is an expert at his job, and that is one of the ways you might have seen people grow in fast moving startups also. People first take a smaller leadership role and more focusing toward an engineering role, so that you are proven that you can lead, but you are an expert in your domain. Then you move forward. So that is a very clear reflection of what around the world people also think. A good leader is an expert at his domain. Okay? And these guys are normally very good as individual contributors, because they have decent amount of expertise. They go by rules, logics, and their internal data only, and they forever seek rational efficiency. Okay, rational efficiency is this is what needs to be done, this is what makes sense. They always choose what makes sense. There's no intuitive call कि यार देख लेते हैं ना क्या चलता है. नहीं चलता उनके लिए. करके देख लेते हैं ना कि नहीं चलता उनके लिए. मेरे हिसाब से ऐसा होना चाहिए. I see the product 5 year down the line. ऐसा नहीं चाहिए उनको. Okay, Cool. So these are the guys who are expert at their domain and they correspond to the maximum percentage. Then there are achievers. That is the next level, which is these guys predominantly meet strategic goals of the organizations, be it military, be it let's say a startup. Achievers are predominantly very good at meeting strategic goals. They achieve it effectively through their teams only, and they are able to juggle between their simple manager duties, and whenever, let's say, even if they have to over communicate, they are able to do that. Even if they have to contribute as individual contributor, they are able to do that. These are the guys who are classified as achievers. They are also majority of the population, which is, hey, a good leader is someone who achieves, and who someone who consistently achieves, है ना, consistently through his team obviously, कि यार who can I trust, एक अच्छा लीडर किस लिए करना है, because predominantly you want to achieve something. That is why you seek leaders in organization and in military, right? There are objectives, very clear, simple objective defined that you need to achieve, and for that you need people who are able to do that, and these are the guys who classify as achievers. Okay, and these are the guys are very simply put, well oiled machined at the managerial level, and they're very action and goal oriented. Fair enough. Then this comes the cream of the top now. The rare breeds. First is individualist. The interviews competing personal and company action logics. Okay. If you go by what is written, the question that Aman you asked, what are the action logics? If you see very simply, whatever is highlighted in italics is the action logic these people operate with. Opportunists operate with win any way possible. This is their action logic. But diplomat avoids and avert conflict. This is their action logic. Expert rule by logic and in your own expertise. This is their action logic. For achiever, just meet strategic goal. If I'm not an expert, it doesn't matter. Somebody else is, just meet the strategic goal. Cool. For individualist, it is interweaves competing personal and company action logics. They are able to understand what company's level action logics and what are mine, and they're able to combine them both. Okay? And they are able to create unique structures to resolve gap between strategy and performance. To whatever, so you need people who understand what are they very good at. You need people who understand what company actually wants and how what company is over indexing on. Company can act as a let's say opportunist. Okay, just win at any way possible. Example to make it more relatable for you guys. Example can be one of the big hotel chain companies, let's call them some rooms. They just acquired all the hotels. They had cash in the bank. They just acquired all the hotels because they were acting as an opportunist. They were acting as an opportunist. Ki we cannot lose ground to the other party. We just cannot. So it doesn't matter what kind of deals you make. This is the company is being opportunist. This is the action logic that we are operating on, and it will take an individualist who understand this, and they're able to marry that with company's logic and execute it. This is the strategy that we want to achieve, and they are able to create the performance which needs to be done so that company's action logic are taken care of. And these guys are very good at venture capitalists and consulting role. What is needed for companies to be done, and what I am able to marry. And these guys comprise of 10% of the leadership population in the survey actually. Okay. Then comes the even rarest breed. Then comes the level of strategist. These guys, in terms of action logic, are able to generate organization and personal transformations. Okay, they exercise the power of mutual inquiry, vigilance, vulnerability for both short term and long term. These guys don't care in terms of if they have to go to war at with everybody else in order to execute the transformation that they seek internally or in the organization. And these guys are very good at whenever you need a transformation of how we operate level. So if company was at an opportunist level, let's say some X rooms, and they want to be at an achiever level, in order to get this done, you would need somebody who's a strategist, nothing less. Okay. These guys
When
comprise.
a company has a A action logic and wants to operate on B or wants a B action logic, then they seek for the C type of action logic people, right?
When then they seek people who are able who are strategists.
यस, मतलब कोई एक कंपनी का से कोई एक एक्शन लॉजिक को ऑपरेट कर रहे हो, उसे दूसरे पे ऑपरेट करना है,
And this is
तब
one of
वो
the
तीसरे
examples. Whenever company
हाँ,
seeks a transformation at fundamentally they want to change their own internal action logic. Okay, we used to operate key win at every cost. Now we need to operate at, let's say, being a strategic goal, which is hitting profitability at any cost. Okay, in order to do that, and what strategies will be needed, what are the right people who should stay in the organization, who should leave the organization, what are the process that needs to be built, what are the ways, what are the internal, let's say, or communication that needs to happen. All this will be planned and executed by a strategist only, because this is a very overwhelming task. Okay, leading these tasks are not easy. These are overwhelming tasks. So you need a strategist who takes who wants to do this, who operates at the level of hey, he wants to generate organization and personal transformation. That is his or her action logic that he or she operates in. Cool. At the last, at the top of the tree, which is less than 1%, is people who are able to generate social transformations. These are very rare breed. Okay, we didn't all of four of us didn't write one statement. A good leader is who brings societal change. Correct. And funny enough, when I ask you now, name 10 good leaders, 10 greatest leaders from India, and when you look back, you will realize they all brought societal change.
But I think, Anupam, could be a reason for that, because let's say when you ask this question, at least I fundamentally, whenever I think of leadership, gets biased with organizational leaders.
Hmm.
The moment you said best leaders in India, oh, India, society, that's when, yes, I started thinking of alchemist. But maybe
Example,
that's,
I'll
yeah,
give an example. Somebody, if I ask you who is the best organization leader from India, and there's a legendary organization in India, which has met all of a strategic and business goal and still were able to bring societal change. And Manish, you were able to guess the name, right? It is
yeah,
yes, Ratan, Ratan,
Mr. Ratan Tata. It was obvious for all of us. Why? I didn't
Ratan
take
Tata.
his name. Because he was operating at that level.
got it. Hmm.
Got it?
Yeah.
He was leading an organization. He was leading $100 billion organization. But at the core of his, let's say, why he was very different from all the other leaders who might have even raked in more money than him, was because he was able to bring societal transformation, and it was one of the fundamental levers that he operated in. If you listen to his story of why he started Nano, he was very comfortably, let's say, having the look of, let's say, the sea from Marriott in Mumbai's the Ring of Pearl, what do we call it, Marine Drive, you know. And he looked down and then he saw
Hmm.
very people, let's say traveling from scooters. Scooters were very traditional then, and middle class family were just hanging and clutching themselves and just going around in scooters. And he thought, why can't I bring the affordability of car so down that these people can have a very secure life? He was not able to land that objective. That's okay. They were doing somewhere else, but he was triggered by, how do I generate societal transformation as a leader? Same was true for Mr. J.R.D. Tata also. Same was true for other people like other people also. Example, people might not like it, but Mr. Musk, in terms of his communication, does talk about a lot of societal changes.
So, Anupam, I've been holding this question because I know these would boil down to opinions and might not be facts, because at the end we are sharing opinions. But like, what are couple of examples for each of these action logic people that come to your mind that all of us should be aware of? I know these are opinions, so we can clearly state that we are sharing opinions and not facts. But what are your
Ah,
versions?
we'll talk about it just after we reconnect on a new call. I will talk in depth about all these seven type of leaders.
Cool, cool.
Here
Let's rejoin.
let's rejoin. Okay, guys, we'll continue. We'll start with Manish questions. Actually, Manish asked, um, what are the examples that comes to my mind when I think of these people, right? These categories of leaders, right, Manish?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So there are examples. Let's say when we deep dive in all of them one by one, but I'll just communicate whatever is coming to my mind for all of these guys. I'll try to go in the reverse order. Okay.
Cool.
One of the very good example of an alchemist was and was and is Mr. Nelson Mandela, who was highlighted in the book also. He was able to really generate social transformation, and we'll talk about the keys and the strength in depth that he used. But Nelson Mandela comes at the level of alchemist for me. Then at a level of strategist, um, Steve Jobs is very clear a strategist. He can be very close. He was not an alchemist, but he's at least a level of strategist. Same can be said for uh, Mr. Satya Nadella also. Okay, these guys
Okay.
really come at a level of strategist. Individualist, from what I can think of, individualist will be um people, not these are people which I'll try to answer from my personal experience. Personal experience. Achiever would be one of the guys in this call only. We can guess among you three. The person who is able consistently able to meet strategic goals. Manish is one of them. At individualist level, Eli is for sure at a level of individualist, for sure. She can take up any consulting role in any world. And any other example um, that I've seen? Yes, so this is one expert. I have seen a lot of them. Manish knows one. Tushar will be actually Tushar, who is my fellow co-founder. He is actually at an expert level. This is primary role of mode of model operandi by simply ruling by logic and expertise. uh, Diplomat, um, diplomat okay, there are a lot of people, these are politicians obviously, but from a personal experience, I have seen people being a diplomat. I have personally also acted as a diplomat back sometimes back. Then at optionalist level, this also have seen people. Unfortunately, I'll not like to name them, but yes, I have seen them. But if I have to trivialize this example, uh, diplomat would be somebody like, let's take sport. The opportunist leader would be not to Greg Chappell would be an opportunity today. He was a leader, but he wanted to win in any way possible. So that would be one. Uh, Dravid would actually be a diplomat, actually, very good diplomat. So Dravid would be at a diplomat level. So these are the examples that come to my mind, Manish.
Got it. Yeah. Fair examples. Yeah, that makes sense. I think with those examples, it kind of makes sense. Okay, what are the different personalities? Otherwise, because it's just text. But yeah, makes sense.
Fair enough. So
Yeah.
for the next 10-15 minutes, what we'll do is I'll obviously read the commentary about all these 7 step of leaders. We'll take a stop check, and you guys should express whatever comes to your mind. Okay. First is opportunist. Even though we don't like them, we need them. That is there. We need them. We need people. As I said, when it's everything is breaking, you need opportunist who wants to win at every cost. Okay. Um, and opportunists are not actually bad in terms of as a person. It's more about their focus on their personal wins. And unfortunately, they see the world and other people as a opportunities themselves to be exploited, and their way and their view of world of the entire world is actually can be explained by their own perception of control. How they will react to an event depends primarily on whether or not they think they can direct the outcome. Okay, and this can be at every single level, which it can be key. If a group is booking ticket, hey, I want to book the ticket because I'll find the final seat that I need to be in the, let's say, particular place in the stadium. Opportunists can go to that level. Yes, they are leading in terms of getting everything done, but they want to control the outcome. Hey, I want to sit from this particular seat. I'm just giving a very trivial example. Okay, they treat each other and people as objects or as competitors who are also out for themselves. They see everybody as a competition. Every single person is a competition. Okay, opportunists tend to regard their bad behavior as legitimate in the cut and thrust of an eye for eye world. These are the traits that don't work. They reject feedback, they externalize blame, and they retaliate very harshly. And it's very obvious that very few opportunities remain managers for long unless they themselves transform themselves to a more effective action logics. Okay, their constant firefighting and their style of self gradient and their frequent rule breaking is actually an antithesis of what kind of people leader want to work with. Opportunities can be very effective in when crisis there, but they are not the people want to work with. And if you personally, or rather, if you have worked for an opportunist, who will certainly remember it as a difficult time. If all of us, if look back, you feel that whoever you were reporting to was an opportunist, you will feel like it was not good, a very good time for you. And because opportunities are not able to survive for long, but if there is a corporate environment which let's say endures and creates and breeds opportunists, they themselves don't survive for long. Cool. Only good thing is opportunities. Another good thing that opportunity create is they create an environment where new people are willing to take the risk because they have seen their either their peers or their immediate supervisors are taking huge amount of risk just because they wanted to win. Cool. That's it. That's about the commentary. Now, whatever views that you guys have, we can talk about them, about opportunist. I mean, whatever comes to mind, it's okay. You can even say nothing. Then we can move forward.
Let me think because I'm just observing and try to analyze with my real experience.
Actually,
So
let's
opportunities,
try to
yeah.
answer just this. Have you worked with an opportunist? Yes or no? That is what you need to answer.
If I say during my college life, I may see my friends. Yeah, they have to win something. It's like
Yes or no? Yes or no? I'm not trying
uh,
to trigger any.
really opportunities. So in your past or currently, you are seeing in any time.
Question is yes or no.
Got it. I'm currently I haven't seen anyone with. Yeah.
Mukul, have you seen a leader, somebody in a leadership capacity who was an opportunist till now?
Uh, yes, in the starting of my career, but it actually
Sorry.
helped me grow.
As I said, let's see the last statement. Author says
Correct.
opportunists, if survive for long, they do create an environment where when new people are able to take
To
bolder and
take risk.
more risk. This is
Correct.
one the good thing that they do. क्या करना क्यों नहीं
Correct.
करता तू मैंने किया तू भी कर सकता है. This is
Hmm.
the common conversation.
Correct.
Right? Manish, in your illustrious career till now, have you seen anybody who was an opportunist at a peer, junior, or a let's say senior level?
Definitely. But I feel it becomes harder to be an opportunist at a leadership level in a collaborative world. So maybe I've seen them at a younger roles, but not at like senior leadership roles in a collaborative world. Like had there been one leader, yeah, maybe that is possible. But like if you have to collaborate, it reduces with that. But definitely seen
See, so we,
people.
okay, same for me. I have seen And as Manish said, mainly at a junior levels, where people who are starting their careers, and it can be seen as they want to establish themselves. That's why they are opportunist. Okay, that can be one of the action logics that they use. Now you understand Aman action logics very simply. Cool. Now let's talk about diplomat. Diplomat makes sense of the world around him or her in a more benign way than the opportunist does. Benign is key, not harmful. But the action logics can also have extremely negative repercussion if the leader is as at a senior management level. Somebody VP or SVP or even higher than that, if those guys are diplomat, it is very detrimental for an organization. Loyally serving the group, the diplomat seeks to please higher status colleague while avoiding conflict. They try to please higher status people nearby them, while not creating any ruckus. This action logic is focused on gaining control of one's own behavior more than gaining control of external events or other people. Understand that opportunists try to control and modify other people. Diplomats try to control and, let's say, take care of their own behavior around them. According to diplomat action logic, a leader gains more enduring acceptance and influence by cooperating with group norms and by performing his daily roles well. If I do my job well, if I conform with everybody, I'm bound to grow. That is the action logic that they use. Okay, diplomats do provide social glue to their colleagues and ensure that attention is paid to the needs of the others, which is probably why the great majority of diplomat work with most junior ranks in management in jobs such as frontline supervisor, customer service representative, nurse practitioner. All these where people are needed to be focused on people, diplomats are needed there the most. So in authors research, um, it is shown that 80% of the diplomats were actually at the junior levels, and by the contrast, 80% of the strategists were actually at the senior levels. Cool. So you see, people, if a person is continuously a diplomat, he or she will not grow a very less likelihood of them growing from a, let's say, a senior leadership role from a junior leadership role. Diplomats are much more problematic in top leadership role because they try to ignore conflict. At the top management level, conflicts are bound to happen. The diplomats turn to be overly polite and friendly and find it virtually impossible to give challenging feedback to others. Okay, initiating change with its inevitable conflicts represent a grave threat to the diplomat. Whenever there is change, diplomats are at risk. So if a strategist comes and say कि यार अब तो ऐसे होगा, सबसे पहले डिप्लोमेट की बेइज्जती है, क्योंकि उनका बेस नॉर्म चेंज हो जाता है, and he would need to have those tough conversations. An example, a strategist can simply say कि in order to hit profitability we need 30% less force, and it is a hard call. Strategist might be okay with, a diplomat might not be, and he will try to avoid at all possible costs, even to the point of self-destruction. Cool. What are your views of diplomats? And this time we can start with Mukul. First question is very simple. Have you met or seen or worked in any capacity with any of the diplomats?
Mm, not work like I worked as a diplomat in some cases at the initial part of the career to resolve the conflicts, like in that sense, to say, yeah.
What about you, Aman?
Uh, I didn't have seen this kind of people, but they were little bit yeah, calm. I have seen the people being calm, so I won't know whether they are diplomatic or just calm because of the situation demands. So it's tough to distinguish them because I didn't deep dive into that situation. So yeah, it can be a very tough, but probably from the leadership position, I didn't see any diplomat.
Okay. Manish, for you?
Seen diplomat. And I think for me, there's a clear characteristic where you need to like where diplomats work well. Like even if I don't think from junior level, senior level, and stop like come out of the corporate box. Let's say even if you talk about government, like the people facing politicians can be diplomat because they literally have to work for the people. Like there would be 100 people coming to you having demands which are conflicting in nature, and you can't choose one over other. There are billions and millions of people who want something, and they can be of different variety and they can be conflicting. For example, an industrialist might want uh, cheaper petrol price, but then there were people who are like environmental friendly. They would like, don't like increase the price of petrol because maybe it's ruining the environment. But then there are other people in government who are like bureaucrats. They don't need to be diplomat. They can be like strategists, and like they can take the harsh calls, etc. So even like there are examples which are like fairly clear where diplomats work clearly well, but in the same organization, not like above tier or lower tier, but in a parallel lateral tier, the bureaucrats can work uh, at a non-diplomacy level, and like because they need to get things done between like small set of people, and their feedback is needed for to get things done, etc. So those for me like hit the most in terms of diplomacy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Or even people, the people facing roles, diplomat are more than likely to, let's say, do well. That's correct. Cool. Moving on. Next, we have the experts. The largest category of leader in the survey was experts. In contrast to opportunists who focus on trying to control the world around them, and diplomats who concentrate on controlling their own behavior, experts try to exercise control by perfecting their own knowledge, both in their professional and personal lives. Exercising watertight thinking is extremely important to experts. Not surprisingly, many accountant, investment analysts, research, marketing researchers, software engineers, and consultants operate from the expert action logic. मुझे तो expert बनना है अपनी चीज में. I need to be bloody good at what I do. है ना? Secure because they seek security. Because secure in their expertise, they present hard data and logic in their efforts to gain consensus and buy-in for their proposals. Okay, क्या ये ऐसे ही होता है? And these are the profession that author has highlighted, and some more where experts are more likely to do well, because as a software engineer, if you're heading at mid or even at a senior leadership position, if you're not technically good, you are bound to make bad decisions. Correct? You just cannot have an VP who doesn't know tech. If it's a technical VP role, correct? You cannot have a product VP who doesn't understand his product. You just cannot. It doesn't matter how visionary they are. It doesn't matter, let's say, how good they are, let's say, in terms of communication. If they're not good at their craft, they're more less likely to succeed at that leadership level. So that's why experts are needed, and especially in these kind of fields. Experts were or are great individual contributors because of their pursuit of continuous improvements, efficiency, and perfection. But as managers, they can be problematic because they are so completely sure that they are right. Okay, when subordinates talk about my way or the highway type of boss, they're probably talking about somebody operating from an expert action logic. क्या ऐसे ही होगा, it doesn't matter what your opinion, ऐसे होगा, sorry, understand, but then, sorry, they will not even say sorry, this is what it is, go and get shit done. है ना? Because they know a person is operating from an expert action logic. Expert, unfortunately, tends to view collaboration as a waste of time. No, and the phrase that no, not all meetings are waste of time because some meetings are cancelled. These kind of jokes predominantly allure the experts, and they will frequently treat the opinion of people less expert than themselves with contempt. Cool. Any have you met an expert? Most likelihood, the data says that you might have. We can start with this time with Manish, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and the like you or I have at least met multiple experts, and um, the problem, as rightly mentioned in this paragraph, would be like getting their time, making them accept that no, there exists a world, there exists a solution which you did not know, but can work in this space. Because at some point, like there's this for the lack of a better word, a pride that comes in that I am an expert, I know more, I know better. So no one else can come in with a thought which is better than this. So the acceptance rate is lower. And thus in collaborative environment, it becomes a very tricky situation. So like completely seen what is specially written in the second paragraph. Uh,
Cool.
yeah.
Aman, for you?
Same as Manish. Yep, I've seen people who are experts, and when you talk, the bias in the initial conversation, you see a bias in the conversation, right? Where they want the conversation to get driving which direction in the solution or their own views. So yeah, I have seen this kind of people.
Same for you, Mukul?
Yep, I have seen people, and what they do is like try to make the solution in their way. Oh, okay, so that is how it happens. But yeah, that's
Are you one of these people, Mukul?
I'm not sure. Like I'm no one to judge myself. Other people can judge me. You or Himanshu or Manish could judge me. Okay, so that's it.
Okay. But now you know if you're an expert, what are the pros and cons?
Yep,
Cool.
yep.
Now let's talk about achievers. And this is where you see actually the mid-tier management comes in more often than not. You could have seen all the conversation that we had were like it can be simply SD1s can be opportunist, SD2 needs to be diplomats, SD3 needs to be experts, and EMs has to be achievers. If we talk about the UC lingo. Cool. For those people who hope someday to work for a manager who both challenges and supports them, creates a positive environment for the team and the interdepartmental atmosphere. The good news is there is a large proportion, which is 30% of the manager work as achievers. While these leaders create a positive work environment and focus their efforts on deliverables, the downside is that their style often inhibits thinking outside the box. Radical thinking is for achiever is not the case. Okay, achievers have more complex and integrated understanding of the world than do managers who display three previous action logics we have described. Okay, they're open to feedback. They realize that many of the ambiguities and conflicts of everyday life are due to the difference in interpretation and ways of relating to things. Okay? They know that that creatively transforming and resolving clashes requires sensitivity to relationships and the ability to influence others in positive way. Achievers can also reliably lead a team to implement new strategies over 1 to 3 or 4 decent period, balancing immediate and long term objectives. Cool. कि in the sense कि तेरे को short term में इस पे focus करना है, long term में तेरे को ऐसे grow करना है. These are the conversations an achiever will have. Okay. Achievers often find themselves clashing with experts. And the expert subordinate, and as you have seen the hierarchy, experts are most likely working under at max a peer level of an achiever. The expert subordinate in particular finds achiever leader hard to take because he cannot deny the reality that achiever success even though he feels superior. Which means achiever might say कि हाँ मुझे ज्यादा आता है लेकिन ये ज्यादा कर पाता है. मुझे ज्यादा आता है लेकिन ये जिंदगी में ज्यादा कर पाता है. वेरी सिंपल स्टेटमेंट, बट अचीवर्स को इंटरनल रियलाइजेशन होता है. Cool. Now we can start with me.
Related to SD expert, you are saying about like ki achievers thought he knows more, but the expert is able to do more.
नहीं, उल्टा. Achievers, even though achievers have a decent amount of conflict with experts, even in all those conflicts, experts have an internal realization that yes, even though I'm a very expert at the craft that we all are together working on, the end net output which is getting delivered is because of this person, and he as a person is doing more in his life or her life or getting more shit done than me, even though I am an expert.
Got it. Got it.
Fair enough. Cool. So this is an easy question to answer for me. Yes, I have seen decent amount of experts and decent amount of achievers also. People, what I have also seen experts getting stuck at experts level, not getting to the achiever level. And it was a change of mindset for them. And the mindset change is actually described in the second paragraph, which is they're able to understand the world better, um, and they're able to understand the action logic that they need to be open to feedback, and in order to achieve the objective that they have at hand, they need to deal with a lot of ambiguities, a lot of conflicts, lot of interpretation, lot of what other person might be thinking, and what this guy must be feeling while he is doing so. All these kind of things achievers are able to encompass, which experts try to ignore because of their purest way of thought. Cool. So that is my take. What about you, Aman?
Uh, yeah, I have seen the people doing some conversations. I have seen that there were some experts here who suggested a solution, but the achiever is somehow use that opinion and build a way around it and make the thing get done and things get done. I have seen these people who achievers somehow take the input. That's their base trait. They take the input. It doesn't matter, right? Who's given, they try to act on it and just try to give it a shape if they can. There can be cases they implement the same way the experts do, as well say, but they also give a try to at least add to it and make it give a better shapes and get the things done. So yeah, I have seen these people. So they don't regret. So whether the achiever's contribution is there or not, their own the expert he contribute हुआ, but yeah, वो सोचते क्या something can better can be done. They have a very positive mindset and they seeks the word. Yeah, I have seen people.
Okay. What about you, Mukul?
Yes, I agree with what Aman actually said. Basically, a expert know what to do. Okay, but the achiever is the one is telling you how the path should be taken for the same, so that it leads to more success of the aim ambition we want to do. Okay, and like in that how process actually it helps like the other team members to grow as well in a way, I would say. Not just the expert who knows it and like he will do it in that sense. Yeah.
Cool. Manish, for you?
So I think just summarizing my thoughts till achiever, and I know after that it will only get more nuanced. With the first three roles, like the first one was opportunist, which was I am everything, no one else matters. Which is a very me thought, right? Then the other one is diplomat. Everyone is important, and I can change myself. Then the third one is expert. Again, I am the one who matters, and others' opinions are not that important. It's very similar to opportunist, but with lesser control, more collaborative. Uh, the achiever is the first personality that we have discussed, which is collaborative in nature. Okay, I am in this world, there are other people in the world, they might be feeling this, they might be feeling that, like acceptance that it's not just you, it's not just everyone else, there are more people, you can also change, they can also change for the better or worse. I think that is why at least of these four this works well. And I've actually seen it in action, uh like how an achiever and an expert interact. And like while expert will feel superior in terms of their knowledge, they would really know that achiever has achieved. And that is the only way achiever earns respect from a expert, because in the back of the mind an expert knows, okay, this person has achieved something, even though I have more knowledge or in a particular subject. So that I have seen in action. And possibly, like if you think about it, if you have more IC kind of roles, like because experts are mostly IC driven people, go to any forum, experts might flourish if they are IC. But when they have to be in a collaborative world, the only way they would function well with achievers is this acceptance that, okay, this person knows a different way of or nuance of getting things done, because otherwise the ego can always feed you in as an expert. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh, Moving ahead, now this will become more and more nuanced, and answer will become more and more no's. First is the individualist. The individualist action logic recognizes that neither it, which is his own action logic, nor any of the other action logics are natural. They are able to realize that all are construction of oneself and the world, which they're able to understand all the action logics, how people operate, or what are they what they want to achieve. This seemingly abstract idea enables the individualist leaders to contribute unique practical value to their organizations. They put personalities and way of relating into perspective and communicate well with the people who have other action logics. Take the primary trait is individualist knows there is something called as action logist, and they're able to understand what everybody is operating and from which action logic they are operating. That is a primary trait. And that is also true. They are able to understand this for the organization also, not for other people, also for the organization. What set individuals apart from achievers is their awareness of a possible conflict between their own principles, their own actions, or between the organization values and its implementation of those values. Okay, this conflict becomes the source of tension, creativity, and a growing desire for further development. Example, an organization can be an opportunist, action level pay. Hey, we want to do this, we want to, and individualist can simply say, "Yeah, I wanted to work for a company which creates a social impact." He wants, individualist knows that he wants to be an alchemist someday. Okay, so this is the source of conflict for this organization. Neither organization is wrong, neither individualist is wrong, but this will create a continuous source of tension कि यार मुझे जल्दी से काम कराने को बोल रहे हैं कि जा सेल्स हिट करो. मैं चाहता था कि ऐसा प्रोडक्ट हो कि लोग उसको यूज करके ये क्या आपने बनाया यार, ये तो आपने लाइफ में बहुत चेंज लाया यार, आपकी वजह से मेरी अर्निंग बढ़ी है यार, आपकी वजह से ये थॉट्स इंडिविजुअलिस्ट के हैं इस लेवल पे जो ऑपरेट करता है. एंड व्हेन दे डू रियली रियली वेल is when their own values and their organization values align. And one of the examples that I have mentioned earlier is the case, because her own the operating at a newest level, her own values or action logics aligns with what organization action values or the logic value system. Now
Here it is aligned. Here it is not aligned or aligned.
for the examples that I have mentioned that I think is working at an individual level, for them it is aligned. I can clearly see that after working with her for 2 years. I'm talking.
Okay,
Aman,
the
it
one
may
he
or may
wants.
not align, is the awareness. Like, it does not mean if it aligns, then you're not an individualist. As an
Can be
individualist,
both
you
aligned.
know it might not align. Yeah.
It's, and these individuals tends to ignore the rules they personally regard as irrelevant, which often makes them a source of irritation for both colleagues and their own bosses. Okay, and this can be case that whenever you want, when people are senior leadership is talking about, hey, do we have to let this person go, even though he has done insanely well for 3 years or 4 years? Might be the case that the person was an individualist. Okay, so that's it from author side and my side. Any and your views, Mukul?
No, nothing more to add. Like the example you actually gave, na, that is the most correct example because the impact the individualists create, like it's not like visible in a shorter time, but in a longer time, it's the impact is more huge. Okay, in that sense. So, yeah, that is my take on it.
Anything from your side, Manish?
I think I would find it harder to even put your example or any example that comes to my head into individualist or what you have briefly described as strategist. And that is something that I would want to explore more once we read strategist, that because now we are going in layers, right? So individualist is one layer above achiever, strategist seems like one layer above individualist. So it will become distinctly harder to have one example that we put in the same box I have like, so at least for that example, I would first want to see what you've written for strategies and then decide. But more or less aligned with the fact that individualists have that, just that awareness of how people operate makes them different.
Yes.
Like, and that is actually a very nuanced quality of leader. When we were writing on chat all the lead qualities, we did mention some way or the other knowing people, their strengths, and how we can use or improve their particular skills. To do that, you need to know what personality or action type someone operates. And I the best word that I've learned today is action type, right? Because uh, once you start thinking of, okay, this is the action type, you might
Very
see
easily.
more from where this person is coming from.
Yes. Then it becomes very easy.
Yeah. So individualist, I think just knowing it more than the achiever, you can see how they operate differently. Or you, like, I generally have questions like, oh, how did you think of that? And maybe this can be answer to some of those questions. Yeah, how did you come up with that? Because you know how I operate, or you know how the other person operate. And yes, then once you know these things, you might end up ignoring the rules. So that makes sense. And because you are different to the world, and you act differently to the rules of the world, it would be less likely for people to equally like you.
Fair enough.
That's just a common society now.
Let's move to the last two part. First is strategists. Strategists do account for less amount 4% of the leaders in the survey. What sets them apart? This is the answer that you are seeking, Manish. What sets them apart from individualists is their focus on organizational constraints and perceptions, which they treat as discussable and transformable. Whereas the individuals master communication with colleagues who have different action logics, the strategists master the second order organizational impacts of action and agreements. Strategies is also adept at creating shared vision across different action logics, visions that encourage both personal and organizational transformations. According to the strategy's action logic, organizational and social change is an iterative development process that requires awareness and close leadership attention. Okay, strategies deal with conflict more comfortably than do those with other action logics, and they are better at handling people's instinctive resistance to change. As a result, strategies are highly effective change agents. Many achievers will use their influence to successfully promote in their own companies. The strategist works to create ethical principles and practices beyond the interest of herself or the organization. So what you Manish said is actually also true. There are traits in example of individualist and of strategists also. Cool. Your
Right.
take, Manish. We can start with your take only.
I think it's interesting. So what we are saying is individualist is someone who is aware of other personality types, and strategist is someone who actually works on that information and creates transformation.
Yeah.
So I think it sort of answers the difference. Yet again, I would not be sure if some part okay strategist, some part individualist. I don't really know how do we put people on lines maybe. Uh, One more interesting line which I which hits me most is the
Sorry for the interruption.
hmm.
Uh, Manish, please continue.
Yeah. So what I was saying is I have seen something like what is written in the last paragraph in action, that there is this one nuance of okay how to get better and like move up the ranks, and then there's this other thought process of okay, what is the right measure which can work for all organization irrespective of me or someone else moving uh in the particular knowledge. And this thought itself I've seen in action, so I know that who are the kind of people who thinks like this. And there's a stark difference because achievers still would be like individualistic in nature, in the sense of okay, I need to move up, but strategists would think of okay, how can we make it uh, ethical and more practical for everyone. So a more detailed and more thought through view is needed for this. Yeah, that's it. But clear difference between like the other first four personalities, first five personalities. So that's clear. Yeah. Hopefully, I'll see a clear-cut strategy soon in my life.
Clear cut
There's
strategy
no doubt.
we haven't seen red. Yes.
Yeah. Not someone with a clear-cut, I can say, oh, this person is strategist. Not at least in person. Maybe like the examples we took earlier from people who we know of. Maybe those are strategists. Yeah.
Cool. Your take, Mukul?
Uh, like I have seen individualist in a way, okay, but the strategist, as far as I'm concerned, like I've not actually seen one in action. Okay, like who has actually done that and changed the perception and the transformation that has happened. So I'm not actually sure of how what would be the good example of a strategist, like in a way. Like you mentioned Steve Jobs in one like as an example. Okay, but still Steve Jobs has done in his organization, but not relating to it how he has done it. That is one another part that I have to read more
Fair enough.
into.
Steve Jobs was a very good strategist. Do read whenever you, and Satya Nadella will actually be a much better example than Steve Jobs also. Steve Jobs might
Mm,
collide with strategist and alchemist a little bit.
mm,
Satya Nadella is a clear cut, brutally very good strategist. If
mm,
you see his work for Microsoft for last a decade, you can clearly realize from a company which was simply क्या सब कुछ अंदर रखेंगे .NET से लेकर Visual Studio को to simply day later just open sourcing it from the
mm,
revolution which is ChatGPT, and just investing in that much to take on somebody as good at their craft as Google. It needs a strategist at the foray. It needs who
yeah.
understand, or not only people that are able to think about second order changes an organization impacts. If we do this, what will happen to morale? If we are
Yeah,
able
and
to,
that
if we
yeah.
are able to take on Google for even for a day, and people are talking about Microsoft Edge and Microsoft technology, Microsoft Bing for a day, what will happen second order effect to the internal employees, 1 lakh employees morale? These are the things that these guys are able to fathom beforehand before they decide. So, in my opinion, Satya Nadella is a very clear cut strategist. Um, Steve Jobs might have traits of both, in my opinion. But if I have to
Correct.
choose, I will always choose the later one.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's why Satya Nadella also said like he will make sure Google dances on the open AI platform for ChatGPT.
He simply said I read that, I listened to that interview. He simply said even if you make them dance for a day, it's worth it.
Correct, correct.
It's worth it. Cool. Uh, uh, from Let's move forward with the last part, which is the alchemist. These are the rarest and the rarest of the breed, as author has said, and when we talk, you'll get to know that these are very rare people. What sets them apart from strategy, which is alchemists, is their ability to renew and even reinvent themselves and the entire organization in historically significant ways. What do we represent? Hannah, what should we be known for? These are the kind of questions these people are able to ask themselves and for their organization and able to implement those. Whereas the strategies will move from one engagement to another. An alchemist has an extraordinary capacity to deal with simultaneously many situations at multiple events, at multiple levels. Then alchemist can talk with both kings and the commoners. He can or she can deal with immediate priorities, yet never lose sight of long-term goals. Cool. And you can see the alchemist. Even from literature which is available, it will be the country level leaders only. That is the example that will come to your mind. Example of somebody, and even if you don't know the literature, somebody, I can say somebody as is negatively portrayed as um, Stalin. Let's say Stalin. Stalin was at an alchemist level. He was able to talk to his generals कि अभी यही करना है, and he was able to motivate the next 30 minutes later. He was able to motivate the entire country कि what needs to be done for our next 10 years and how to get the morale up. Cool. So that is the kind of these are the people you'll often find are either leader of very big initiatives or countries or very big unions or some which is people facing role of high importance are people who are at a level of alchemist, let's say prosper. Okay. And the most celebrated, as I said, most celebrated example of alchemist was Mr. Nelson Mandela. Um, although he we never formally profile. This is in 1995. Mandela symbolized the unity of New South Africa when he attended the Rugby World Cup game in which the Springboks, the South African national team, were playing. Rugby has been the baptism of white supremacy, but Mandela attended the game. He walked on the pitch wearing the Springbok jersey, so hated by black South Africans, at the same time giving a pleasant first salute to the ANC, thereby appealing more almost impossibly both black and South Africans. Ki South, it was only white people who were playing rugby. And South Africa is one of the top three teams in rugby. See, so it is very close to, it is very similar to cricket for India. And it was all dominated by whites. Mr. Mandela, he chose a team which was hated by blacks. He wore their jersey, but because he was black and he was their leader, everybody was able to get united. And it was one of the pivotal moment for entire South Africa, just because when Mr. Mandela was able to attend that one simple rugby game of the World Cup. Cool. And this is it. To the last question, which all of us will ponder, which is, do you think you can transform yourself as a leader from one action logic to another? Yes, you can. First step is knowing. Now you know all the 7 steps, at least. That is the first step. Second step is knowing yourself, in my opinion. How do you, what is your own action logic? That is the step number 2. Then you can evolve by adapting and new action logics. Cool. That is it in terms of what author has to share. Your views, and that with the closing notes. Aman, your views on Alchemist or the entire 7 transformations of leadership.
It is a very nice views. So when we talk about Alchemist, I know one man, right? He was not that famous, but he has joined one of the UC's meet. I don't know what's her name is, but it was Major Jacob. I didn't know, but he was a external who just joined our meet, and he was a NSG's 9 para commando, right? So there was, I think, fireside chat. Yeah, I remember fireside chat with the, I think, one of the major with UC's held an event. So inside that, he told that he was an 9 para SF commando, right? It was one of the best to best forces, right? It was very dedicated only for this opportunity. You have to win this. You have to win. There's no other way, right? There's a do or die. The special forces, I only have one. There's a do or die. That. So one day he said that yeah, he had led the multiple operations successfully, or he led everything. But one day when he feels yeah, there's something to it, he just knock the door of his mid journal and just do resigns and just start doing the social service, right? So what does alchemist is? Just change. Yeah, he just I don't know. He said one thing that I just one day I just can't take my gun. I just have to go so ocean, but I was not able. My hands was just shaking, but I don't know able to take up the gun because I don't know why. There's some internal force that I think, yeah, what he does, but I now when I read it, I do I think that he's moving towards an alchemist. He's finding the way. Now he's doing the social NGO, is running an NGO to help the various other people who are in who might need help. So yeah, that's the from the that position, right? And he has seen various things in his life, but yeah, but that yeah, I can relate with that. He's moving towards alchemist.
Fair enough. What is your take, Manish?
I think uh, possibly saying this on the record sounds scary, but yeah, I would put myself somewhere on that achiever personality type. Uh, Agreeing to what Anupam mentioned earlier because he had read about the personality type. It becomes extremely important for me to know this because if there's a possibility to move ahead in that personality ladder, it feels like a ladder, to be honest. I don't know if the intention was not to make it feel like a ladder, but it clearly seems like a ladder. Maybe there are some personality types which can be in parallel. Maybe like expert versus achiever, these can operate in parallel, etc. Uh, the next personality type was individualist, which they were aware of these things. So I think being aware and then maybe using in action can help. So clearly, very new and nuanced look. And I think while you read a lot of managerial books, you do see some of these traits. Like they put it like what kind of manager you are, like diplomat or individualist. But thinking in terms of personality and like putting it out of like, no, you're not just thinking of a manager's perspective, but even in your personal life, how you operate, etc., can change because of this. It clearly can be a helpful thing. But let's see. I hope this is not like a TED talk which I listen and forget,
Nice.
but can
This is
actually use
more
it in
about
action.
keyword is action logic. Now you know in your
Yeah,
life. I hope at least
Hopefully start using it.
you will start
Yeah.
using what is the action logic you use, and
Mm.
and even if you don't talk about it, it will be something which will keep in your back of mind. What are they coming from? And when you do that, you have level one. When you are able to use that, your level at a level strategist. When you are able to do this and transform and at a multiple, then you are at maybe an alchemist level. Cool guys.
Right. Right.
Mukul, any parting
Cool.
notes?
No, just nothing like it's that Manish rightly mentioned it's a ladder. Okay, but when you go through the experience, uh, like someone having 1 year of experience, someone having 10 years of experience, okay, you will certainly evolve through it. Okay, and if you want to go towards a particular position, okay, or become a better as a human being in a way, you will ideally want to transform yourself and take those particular steps. And that's what I've actually understood from the past year or so. How that transformation happens, you don't realize it, but it is happening for you. Okay. And it will make sure if you want to go for it, you will evolve, basically.
Fair enough, Mukul. I guess that's it in terms of 7 transformations of a leader. See you guys next week. Over to you. Take care. Cheers.
Manish has one more thing, I think.
Manish has
He's
one more
gonna
thing.
say
Please
something.
go ahead, Manish.
Yeah. I was just thinking if for some of the rules it said, they do this, they do that, but obviously we couldn't cover how or like what is like the base quality that they can do it or they can do that. For example, knowing action type, but effective communication versus like effective transformation. So that is a curiosity that is there in my mind right now that okay, now I know what they do, but how do they do it? Like, or what are like base qualities that they project is something that I'm curious on. So if Anupam, you have something on that, some source, even that would help, or maybe some other session which you can take.
We will take. You have asked a very good question. Actually, in this series, we will talk about, but in depth about change management, which will cover internal and organization and your team level changes, which will answer many of your the questions that you want to you're in a way seeking, and then we'll talk about strategy at the end, which will talk about starting from how to build an organization to its vision to its leading a company, everything which we will try to cover. So the imperative, it will become maybe very imperative once the HBR series is done. But it's a build up to every session. I'm trying to create a build up for the next session. And
Cool.
how
Cool.
is the answer later? That is the that is the cliffhanger I'll leave you with.
Great. Cool. Looking
Well,
forward to it.
thanks for tuning in. Take care. Cheers.